All right, our guest now on Tennis Channel Inside In has clearly been one of the best coaches, the premier coaches of the 21st century, working with players such as Soderling and Stan Wawrinka, guiding the latter to 3 major titles. Before that, he was a player in his own right, reaching a career high of number 2 in the world in a major final. He owns and founded the Good to Great Tennis Academy in Sweden, the first of its country's kind. Magnus Norman, welcome to the podcast. Looking forward to speaking with you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, looking forward for the chat.
So I had a lot of questions for you. Your life in tennis is very, very esteemed. Starting with this. So you grew up in Sweden. You're following an enormous boom. There's so many influences from the generations prior. What made the tennis bug stick with you? Because I know you dabbled in some other sports, but what was it with tennis in Sweden that got you going?
Yeah, I mean, I was doing a lot of winter sports. I'm from a very small city in the north of Sweden, so doing a lot of winter sports. And I was never really a soccer guy. Soccer is really big in Europe, in Sweden as well. But at that time, in the beginning of the 80s, tennis was very popular. You know, we had Stefan, Mats, Bjorn. Everyone was sort of playing tennis. I grew up very close to tennis courts in my hometown of Filipstad. So my grandmother gave me a racket, started to hit against the wall, got me hooked pretty much instantly. I grew up in a very small city, as I said. We didn't really have a tennis club in my city, so my father started to play tennis with me, and he was my coach until I was 14 years old. Didn't have a professional setup at all. We sort of, me and my father sort of teach each other. He was reading books about techniques. So that's how it's all started.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. First, it's like always the grandparents, it seems like, that kind of get the ball rolling. But did you find too, and it wasn't something I planned on asking, but you made me think of something, certain areas of the world, and maybe it was a time frame of a different era, but there weren't a lot of high-end coaches early on starting out. Do you think that's something that's changed and is something unique to your story, that players like yourself that love the sport, your parents do all they can to teach it to you, but there weren't any people around you in your vicinity that knew the game at a very high level?
No, it's true, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons why I got also into coaching, because I I had to take care of my own career from a very early start. You know, I remember when I was 12, 13 years old, I had to write training diaries. I had to think a lot about watching a lot of tennis, think about technique myself. So I had to learn a lot about training myself. So I think that's the reason why I'm also got into coaching a lot. You know, I was very curious about studying the game, and I think that's the way.
Well, I want to get into your coaching career, obviously, and a lot of different questions with that. But obviously, people know that are historians of the game and from a certain era that you were an exceptional player too in your professional run. Start with this, though. What's the biggest difference you've seen the tour change from way back when, 20, 30 years ago versus now? How has the tour changed in your opinion? It's an open-ended question, but certain things you notice that are completely different.
Yeah, no, for sure. The tour has changed a lot. Also, the game has changed a lot. I would say there's more money involved now. The players, they have much bigger teams around them. When I was playing, growing up, and also at my peak, my tennis coach was also my fitness coach, and I couldn't really afford traveling with the physio. So I was using the physios on site, or even my coach sometimes would treat me at night. So now you see the players, they travel with a tennis coach, they have a fitness coach, they have a physio. Sometimes they have a psychologist with them. So the teams are much bigger. The careers are longer because you have dedicated people taking care of these different aspects of the players. And then the game itself, I would say, the players are moving so much better than we did back in the days. We were hitting quite hard as well, but the pace that these top players are playing with now. It's just incredible how they cover the court. I'm in Beijing right now and still coaching Stan. We were hitting with Sinner yesterday, and it's just incredible how he moves, how he covers the court. I mean, at one point during the practice, we were looking at each other, me and Stan, and sort of a little bit laughing. It's just Stan was doing a great practice. You know, he couldn't win a point. It was just incredible at some point how the players are moving.
Yeah, I would imagine that those things go hand in hand, right? There's more specialization. The players are exceptional athletes, but if you develop athletes with exceptional care around the board, not just coaching, but physio training, that's going to lead to some really just tremendous stuff, tremendous tennis.
Yeah.
You know, on your tennis career too, Magnus, I was going to ask, so you had a career that isn't as long as I think you and others would have liked, but still accomplished so much, got to #2 in the world, that Roland Garros final in 2000. When you look back at your playing career, is it fond memories? Is there stuff that you think, man, I wish I could have accomplished more? It's an interesting question for somebody that did so much and so little, yet could have played longer, but injuries did not let that happen.
Yeah, no, it's when I get that question, it's always two sides of the story. I mean, I was happy that I got to #2 in the world, the Grand Slam final, winning Davis Cup for Sweden. But at the same time, like you say, my career got cut short, and I felt like I had so much more to give to the tennis. I had so much more inside my head and inside my body. So you know, I just wished I would have been able to play another Grand Slam final and maybe doing it a little bit better. I was one match away from being #1 in the world. Grand Slam final, I would have been a Grand Slam champion. You know, so it's two sides to the story, two sides to the coin, so to say. I'm happy about my career, what I've achieved from a very small city in Sweden, but at the same time, you know, ending the career 26, 27 years old, it's way too short. I would have loved to play longer because I love the game of tennis. I love to work hard, you know, so yeah, two sides.
Yeah, and when you kind of just show you too, right, how quickly the game moves and moves on in a lot of ways, because 99, 2000, that run you had was exceptional. And I looked this up. You had 10 titles, and that was the most of any player during that time. But then in a couple of years, you're retired. So I guess on that note, going forward, Magnus, you did transition to coaching, but it wasn't the smoothest transition. It wasn't an immediate transition like a lot of players seemingly go right into coaching. You took some time away from the game. Was there a feeling that you needed to break away? Was there a feeling of resentment? Did you need to just kind of clear your head? And did you think that maybe you were done with tennis at that time when you retired as a player?
Yeah, I needed some time off. I never thought I was, my goal was not to go into tennis again. I was studying business and economics for a couple of years and had a regular job. So, you know, I was a bit sad, a bit disappointed by how things ended. You know, as a professional athlete, I think everyone wants to go out on their own terms. I'm always, brought to tears when I see the likes of Federer retiring the way he was, and now Stan is maybe towards his end of his career. I just wish that he can have the sort of ending that he really deserves. So yeah, I was a bit sad, but at the same time, now looking back, I think it was good to take some time off because I was struggling for the last couple of years with my injuries in my hip, and it was also nice to know that there is something else than tennis. Got to have friends outside the tennis world and do other stuff. So I think also that's why when Thomas Johnassen asked me a couple of years later, "Hey Magnus, can you join me for a week?" He was going to play Memphis ATP 500, and he said, and I took a 1 week holiday from my work, and from that moment I saw, wow, this is what I love to do. This is my life. This is Magnus Norman. So from that moment on, I was hooked, and I never came back to work again. I stayed in tennis, and I'm so happy about it.
That quickly. Well, I was going to ask you too on Thomas Johnassen. That was your doubles partner too. So was there any awkwardness? Like, you guys are friends, you've played as partners, now you're coaching, and was that I know it was your first gig, but was there any awkwardness there having to coach someone that was a peer for a lot of years?
No, because it didn't really start as me coaching him. It started me being his best friend, just join him on the tour and for a week, and then everything sort of turned out quite well. He was very happy with what we were doing. I was, and I am 1 year younger than Thomas, and as you say, we played doubles together. So, but it never felt awkward. I mean, we were chatting like friends. I didn't really have the authority maybe to be his coach and to say do things this way or that way. We were helping each other a little bit, and yeah, that's the way it came along. I remember that we went on to play Memphis. We went on to play Washington the ATP, and then he won a Challenger. Everything sort of snowballed. He played well, and then he also got injured. And during that injury time, Robin Soderling asked Thomas and myself, can I join you guys for a couple of weeks? Thomas got injured, and then I sort of kept working with Robin. So that's how it all started.
It's amazing that journey, and then there's still a lot to get to there. But I guess I'd ask you on the bigger picture. So this leads to Soderling, this leads to Stan, this leads to the academy, good to great, and your whole coaching life. Was around this time that you developed core principles? And I guess I'd ask you the question, Magnus, what are your core principles as a coach? What are, the pillars of your approach? Because there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, as they say. But when someone says, what's Magnus Norman's coaching pillars, what would the answer be?
I think the best way would be maybe to ask Stan or Robin about it. But I think if you ask them, I think their answer would be that I'm always well prepared, always ready to work hard, always doing my scouting, always doing my preparation before every training block, so to speak. And I would say also that I think I'm quite good with people. You have different, if you look at Stan and if you look at Robin, I think they're two completely different characters. So it's two different types of game. Sort of, they are both attacking players, both very powerful, but one is playing with one hand, one is playing with two hands, one is extrovert, one is introvert, like totally different personalities. Right. So I think it's very difficult to coach those two people exactly the same way. And I think I'm quite good with those different personalities. It's about realizing that you have a human being in front of you, and to try to develop this human being in front of you to try to also become a better athlete. And I think the mental sort of development that I did with both Robin and maybe also with Stan, it's possibly the biggest thing that I'm most proud of. Robin had never been in the second week of a Grand Slam before we started working together, and Stan was also a little bit of underachiever in bigger tournaments. We all remember that 2013 match with Djokovic in Australian Open.
Yeah,
he was always close. He was a very good player, but he was not. He was not winning those matches, and I would like to rephrase Stan, because I saw an interview that he did about myself, and he said, "What did Magnus bring to you?" And he said, Magnus teach me to be a winner," and that sums up maybe a little bit our years together when he was at his peak. I was making him believe in himself, that he was a good player, that he could actually win those matches, not only playing close matches, but winning.
Right. More with Magnus Norman here on Tennis Channel Inside In, talking to the coach who's led a ton of different players to success. And we're going to get into one of those players right now. You mentioned Robin Soderling. End of 2008, you start working with him. He was ranked number 17. 2009 was a signature year. A lot of players currently would take that year. Just remarkable stuff, beating Nadal at the French Open, losing in the final to Federer, going on a tear, getting into the top 3. My question to you, Magnus, is did you know that the ingredients were there? Did you realize on the ground level that this guy was close? Because good to great being the name of your academy, but there was an example right there, a guy that was good. By the end of 2009, he was a great player on the ATP.
I obviously knew that he was a great player. He had a lot of attributes that was really, really good in terms of his tennis. But yeah, so my vision with him was to make him a great player, make him perform better in bigger tournaments. We changed the scheduling a little bit so that he was going to peak in the bigger tournaments, not overplaying. Trying to have a good periodization during his year. And we also worked a lot with the things that I was working with as a player, that my coach Fidde Rosengren was working with me when I was a player, trying to get him to focus on the things that are most important, which is the next point all the time, not yelling about the past point or getting too upset with losing points and the son that is maybe wrong or whatever, shadow on the court, or being angry at the spectator because the spectator is maybe doing too much noise, whatever. Things that you cannot control. Focus on the things that you can control, and that was one of the things that I think led him to his success.
It was really remarkable what he accomplished, and you highlighted something, just live in the present. 1 point is 1 point. You can move on and do very well. Anybody that was around, I'm sure there in 2009, a match with Nadal, something that had never happened before, the way he won that match too, it was something that I don't think the tennis world has seen before or since. What was that experience like, Magnus, being at Chatrier, seeing what was unfolding, seeing Soderling hit Rafael Nadal off the court at Roland Garros?
No, it was crazy because no one expected it, and he lost pretty badly to Nadal in Rome a couple of weeks earlier, and I think he got 1 or 2 games. Actually, he was really blown off the court. But I felt in that match, even if the score was so big, I remember me and Robin staying up very late that night. We were in the gym at the hotel until maybe 1 a.m. in the morning talking about the match, and we were doing a workout after the match. Robin was obviously very angry with the match, but I felt like there were some things in that match that I felt, it was not too far off. It could have been a closer match. So we took those things with us into the match at Roland Garros. And the everything that we talked about beforehand, everything that we talked about in the gym at 1 a.m. in Rome, everything sort of clicked. It was very important to be the one that was striking the ball first, even if it was serving and or returning. You have to strike first, and you have to go for it. And if you can win 1 set against Nadal, maybe you can win 2. And perhaps there is a possibility to win 3. No one believed in it, but he did it, and it was a remarkable performance. But I would say, coming back 2 days after that match, beating Davydenko on Susanne Lenglen was maybe even a bigger achievement from Robin, because Davydenko was a top 4 player also. Coming back 2 days after a match like that was even, for me as a coach, even more incredible. He blew off Davydenko, I think 3 sets to love. That was just remarkable.
There's always a letdown, it seems. You win a match like that, a life-changing match, there's just a natural human letdown there. But no, that highlighted something else too. As a coach, it has to be just a tremendous feeling when, that's the grandest example, but you prepare, you give a bunch of lessons to a pupil, and then you see them execute, whether it's the highest level or a junior or someone in your academy. That's probably why you get into coaching.
It doesn't matter. It's the coaching. It's like I said, it's like I've been fortunate enough to work with Robin and Stan, 2 amazing players. Top 3, both of them. It's but at the same time, when I coach my kids back home, I have a 13-year-old girl, Grace Bernstein, that is playing, and I have the same feelings. It doesn't really matter. The stage doesn't matter. It's the work. It's the development. If you work on something, you work on the Grace trying to be a little bit more aggressive, not pushing on the backhand. And when you see her do that in match, you are equally. Equally happy. It's the process. It's the whole work that is coaching. And that doesn't matter if it's on on the Chatrier court or if it's on court number 2 on a national tournament. The feeling is the same for me.
So on the topic of your current player that you've worked with and had tremendous success with, Stan Wawrinka, I read a quote that was before you started working with him, you acknowledged and you said that, I never really thought Stan had this killer instinct. I thought he was a little too nice out there.
Mm.
When you started working with him, what was the process to get that killer instinct? Because clearly, you acknowledge it. The rest of the world acknowledges it. He won 3 majors. He beat the number 1 player every time to do so. But how did that process work to unlock something special, that killer instinct in Stan?
Going out on the practice court, working really hard, talking a lot around the training blocks, setting goals. I remember one of the things that he told me when we first met in Lausanne, Switzerland, was that, Magnus, I want you to be 100% honest with me, even if it means you having to tell me things that I probably don't want to hear, but please tell me if you think there are things outside the tennis court, on the tennis court, whatever it is, because I want to be a better player. I want to achieve better things. And one of those things was that I felt like important moments he was playing the points, maybe taking too much risk. He was and is a player that builds his game around a lot around movement and physique. But he was as soon as he was playing important shots, he was going for the winners a little bit too early, in my opinion, and he was sort of escaping. And I told him, listen, when it's important moments, you need to show this. You need to be more of a show your opponent and show yourself that you are here to fight and you're here to win the match. And he started to do that a little bit. We got off to a very good start. I remember he won his first tournament first week together in Estoril. He made, I think, the quarters in Madrid, ATP Masters. So everything I said, sort of, we got off to a good start, and he started to believe in what I said. And that's also very important when you start with a new player, that that you have success, or the player feels like I am getting better. A little bit of luck and a lot of hard work.
Did you notice something with him as the relationship went on, as he started winning and winning majors, that this is a guy that rises in big matches? Because there really isn't a career like his, and every one of his runs, they're all unique. They all had their ups and downs. The U.S. Open involved saving a match point earlier, but I wonder if from the coaching side, did you come across a lot of different players, and some are more receptive to others at coaching, but when he's out there against players that have a better resume, have a better ranking, did you realize anything special about his willingness and his ability to compete?
Oh yeah, big time. And also, I think one of his old time friends came up to me after, I think, 2 years coaching Stan. He told me that, oh wow, you did something to Stan, because he used to be a little bit shy. He used to be a little bit introvert, but now he's talking with more confidence. He's more open-minded. He can show emotions on the court. Like he's a little bit like a tiger on the court.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that was new to me. But he was he was from being an underachiever in bigger matches, in finals and bigger tournaments. He sort of got the reputation of being the big match player, and that changed quite fast with winning big titles, winning huge matches in Grand Slam. So that's something that we are, of course, very, very proud about.
How important was it, and how special is it to join up with him again, started in 2022 for, I'll call it the final push. I think we can agree on that, but the final push for Stan. How cool and how important is it to be back on his team?
Very cool. I mean, we stopped working together 2 times, and both times being my kids that wanted me to stay at home a little bit more. It sort of felt like I never left him anyway. I was always watching his matches. I was always in close contact with him. When he asked me again a couple of years ago to sort of join him for his last chapter. I couldn't say no. I mean, I was always his coach. I could never coach anyone else. As long as he was playing, we are that close. I have that sort of relationship and that sort of respect to him. So I could never coach anyone else against him. That would be against my philosophy a little bit. So yeah, it feels great to be back. It's challenging because he's getting older. So me and Pierre and Dario, we have to think a little bit different. We have to coach him a little bit different. I think one of the biggest challenges for me as a good friend of him now also, in the beginning, I didn't really care about him that way. I said I was tough on him and, you have to do this, you have to do that. And I told him things that, was tough for him to hear. Now, when we are getting closer as friends, we've been together for over 11 years. It's one of the tough things is to tell a good friend things that he don't want to hear, and that's one of my things that I have to sort of really work with now. I'm still his coach. We are good friends, but I still need to push him. I still need to be telling him tough things, so that's one of the tougher things, because we grew so close together. But it's nice. I just wish that we can have some good wins towards this year, 2024, and also 2025, because he deserves to go out in a good way.
He certainly does. And the last note on this, after he won the U.S. Open, the ATP decides for the first time to do a Coach of the Year award. You win the inaugural ATP Coach of the Year. I don't know how you are with accolades and looking back on acknowledgments, but how was it to be recognized by your peers in tennis to get that prestigious honor as the top coach on the tour?
Yeah, like you said, it was special because it was from my friends. It was from my coaching friends. So that made it very special. And I'm not so much a guy who wants to be in the spotlight, but this one was special. I have to say, this one was special. I had so many years with Robin, and then so many years with Stan. So yeah, it was something that I will always remember. A special one.
Well, a few more things here with Magnus Norman on Tennis Channel Inside, and the premier tennis coach, current coach of Stan Wawrinka, has been a tremendous guest on the show. I'm going to ask you about the academy, Good to Great. You started in your home country of Sweden. That was a little jarring to me when I read it, that Sweden didn't really have an official proper academy like this before you got in the game. What made you decide that this was the life that you wanted to do, starting an academy, working with young kids, and providing a resource to players that were in your shoes, trying to find high-level talent and high-level coaching?
Yeah, well, it all started when I was coaching Robin. I was discussing a lot with my friend Thomas Johnassen, with Thomas Enquist, with Larsson, with Bergman, Tillström, Kulte, you name them all. And we were a bit worried about Swedish tennis, what's going on after Robin. We didn't have any juniors coming up. So it all started as a project trying to have Swedish tennis instead of, saying that we were much better, everything was better before, the new generation are too lazy. You heard it all. Yeah. We said, okay, let's try to do something creative instead. So we started Good to Great, and we wanted to change a little bit the way we were working with juniors, developing players in Sweden, starting to work hard, even at 7 a.m. before school in Sweden. Started, and for a few years we were renting courts, but we always wanted to build our own facilities. So 5 years ago, we opened up Good to Great Tennis Academy. We have great facilities and we have a very good program. We got a pretty quick a good reputation in the world of tennis because we had good results with our younger players. So we have a good bunch of players working really hard. It's me, Michael Tillström, Niklas Kulte, ex-players that started the academy. So the first thing we said together, the three of us, the three founders, was that we we need to have fun when we do this at the same time
course.
as working hard. We need to feel that it has to be fun when we travel to the academy every day. And from the last 10 years, it's been fun every morning going to the academy, going to meet my coaches, going to meet all the players and parents. It's a lot of fun. It's hard work for sure, but at the same time, it's my life. Tennis is my life, and I want to give back to the younger generation. We have a bunch of really cool kids now. Like I said, Grace Bernstein, she's 13 years old, a great Swedish sort of talent, and a lot of international tennis players, juniors that comes to our academy, and it's a great feeling. It's a big trust, and something that I want to do for the rest of my life.
Did you ever think, the sliding doors moment of one, you could have left the game after playing, but also that you're somebody that got to number 2, got to a Grand Slam final, but in a lot of ways, and it's a badge of honor, your legacy, your lasting image is going to be what you did after playing, the coaching and the academy life. Does that sit well with you? Is that different, or are you just enjoying anything that involves tennis?
Yeah, I enjoy anything actually with tennis. I like I said, I didn't play because I want to be famous or want to be recognized or anything. I want to be remembered as a great guy, hopefully a good friend, and someone that is working very hard, both as a player and also as a coach. I think that's the legacy I want to be remembered for. And I had a lot of great players that I was fortunate to work with. Robin, amazing talent. Stan, amazing talent. And now at the academy we have some fantastic juniors coming up as well. I've been very, very lucky also, I have to say.
Well, it's very commendable what you're doing, not just at the pro level, but at Good to Great, the tennis academy in Sweden. Magnus Norman, this was fun. Thanks so much for joining Tennis Channel Inside In. I did have a bonus question, though, because I saw you played it growing up. What, if you could explain to our viewers that aren't from Sweden, what exactly is bandy?
Bandy is it's sort of like ice hockey, but it's played on a soccer field.
Okay.
So you play 11 against 11. And it's a sport that is popular in Sweden, maybe Norway, Russia, a couple of other countries, but it's not an international game. But it's sort of popular up in the north.
Okay, because I grew up playing ice hockey too, and I know you're in the demographic where you probably have a bunch of postage stamps with Peter Forsberg on it from that Olympic gold medal.
Oh yeah.
So I know you're a hockey guy too, but I'll have to try bandy if I ever make it out to Sweden. Magnus Norman. Magnus Norman, this is a blast. Best of luck yourself, Stan Wawrinka in Beijing, with the academy, Good to Great, and all your coaching endeavors. We'll have to do this again soon. Thanks so much for coming on Tennis Channel Inside In.
Thank you so much for inviting me.